Risch, he's a key member of both the Intelligence and Foreign Relations Committees. Senator, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Wolf. Glad to be here.
So react to the breaking news. Our top story, a federal judge now blocking part of President Trump's order to take away funds from so-called sanctuary cities all over the country, whether in Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York City, all over the country. How much of a setback is this to the Trump administration?
Well, first of all, not fully unexpected. I mean, every time the president does something like this, it's pretty easy to find a left-leaning judge somewhere in the country that would block it at the lower level. You got a circuit court and a Supreme Court above that, so these kinds of things. Every time the president does something, he's going to get sued over it, and they don't unravel till you get higher up.
His travel bans, Travel Ban 1, then the revised travel ban, both of those were at least stayed by federal judges, including higher-level federal judges, and they're still on hold. He can't go forward with that travel ban. This could stick around for a while as well. It's pretty embarrassing, though, when these federal judges come in and say to the president, to the attorney general, what you have done may be unconstitutional.
Yeah, well, look, all of us that are in public office do things and expect to be challenged by them, and it's up to the courts to make a determination as to what's constitutional and what isn't. When it comes to the travel ban, obviously the issuance of visas is totally within the discretion of the second branch of government, not the first, not the third, but the second branch. I doubt the federal courts are going to take over the discretionary issuing of travel visas to the United States. It's got to get higher up in the courts before you get some clarity on that issue.
Well, at this point, do you think the Trump administration, the Justice Department, should rewrite this latest order on the so-called sanctuary cities, preventing federal funds from going to those cities, as long as they occasionally go ahead and protect some of these undocumented immigrants?
You know, I haven't read it, but obviously after you get to court and you read a court order and see what it is that the courts caught the court's fancy, you can many times go back and correct it, as with legislation or anything else. But that's going to be up to them. Good lawyers, they'll handle it.
Based on what you know on this other breaking story we're following, Senator, involving the former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, do you believe that he may have broken the law, that he may have committed a felony?
I don't know. Obviously, I've seen the same stories you have, and it's possible. Look, in the position that he was in, we have some very clear and very strict laws about what people who have been in a position of national security can and can't do, particularly when they're holding a clearance. The rules are very specific. They're very clear. Obviously, the people in the House who've reviewed those think there's reason to believe that. But again, that's not the job of the Congress to prosecute. That'll be up to the Justice Department. I have every confidence that if indeed the law was broken, that he can and will and should be held to account for it.
It's not just the Democrats who are making these insinuations. Right. As you know, Jason Chaffetz, he's a Republican congressman from your neighboring state of Utah. He's the chairman of the House Oversight Committee. If he says there's no evidence Michael Flynn was complying with the regulations, may have committed a felony, that's a big deal, right?
It is a big deal, but in America, always you're presumed to be innocent until otherwise. And I think, like you say, there's reason to look at this, where it ends up. Let's let the facts come out, and then we can all make a decision.
That's fair enough. Senator, do you think the White House, though, bears some responsibility for not properly vetting Michael Flynn? It was so well known. He visited Russia, had dinner with Putin, sat at a table. We all saw the video of him on so many occasions during the campaign celebrating President Putin. There you see Putin at that event. This is in December of 2015. You see General Flynn sitting at one of the main tables right there. Everyone knew he went to Moscow, so there was a problem there. Maybe they didn't do a good job vetting him. What do you think?
Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. We all knew what the situation was. The national media reported that he was over there at this celebration of Russian TV, who operates in the United States, by the way. So that particular fact was well known. As far as the vetting's concerned, look, I was a governor. I know how you do these vetting things. It's a lot easier to do at the state level than it is at the national and international level. You need good people to do the vetting. I would think they'd have asked the questions, but I guess when the documents come out, we'll get a better feel as to whether or not the vetting was proper or not.
Yeah, it's not just what the reported $45,000 he got for that speaking engagement for RT, Russian TV, when he went over to Moscow, but more than $500,000 from various Turkish elements. He only registered as a foreign agent after he left the White House, after he was fired as national security advisor. They're looking at that as well. That's appropriate, right?
It is appropriate they look at it. This whole thing doesn't have a good feel to it by any stretch. But having said that, again, we need to not rush to judgment on this and get all the facts in front of us. But it doesn't have a good feel to it.
Because it is significant also when you see the Republican chairman of the Oversight Committee in the House, Jason Chaffetz, and the ranking Democrat, the ranking member, Elijah Cummings. They're both on the same page as far as Michael Flynn is concerned. You don't see that all that often nowadays, but that's significant.
Significant, and you're right, you don't see that all the time.
Stand by, Senator. We've got more to discuss, including there's some late-breaking